Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you for being here. I am desperately hoping it is sufficiently after lunch that your attention and my attention can be focused for this afternoon's discussion. So the theme that Maharaj wanted to focus on for this entire retreat is awakening a taste for the holy name. So my thought was to talk about, if you're talking about taste, we generally think about food. And what goes into food is generally ingredients that you cook together somehow, and voila, you get a tasty something or the other. So hopefully none of you are nitpickers, having noticed there's an onion in this particular picture, but we won't talk much about it. Essential ingredients to awakening a taste. I very much resonated with how Paramrupa began his conversation yesterday, or discussion, because we were discussing, that I feel a little, unqualified. We're talking about taste of the holy name. And to me, what does taste mean? It's that very first slide that Maharaj had presented when chanting with quality. Chanting with quality is, why 16 rounds? Why not 16,000 rounds, right? I don't know about you, but when I get to that last bead, this sense of relief, I made it. Once again. Today has been a wonderful day. I actually got to 16 rounds today again. So, there are a few days where I go beyond 16 rounds, but it's not often. So I don't feel qualified to be speaking about the subject matter. But I have attended the 17 Festival of Holy Names so far. I've attended every one of them except one time, which I'll blame my wife for. She was pregnant. So well, maybe I should blame myself for that. Sorry. Heart's racing right now. That was so funny. Okay, so I've attended all of the Festival of Holy Names. I've attended the Japa retreats. Every one of the Japa retreats Maharaj did in Gita Nagari, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2012. We had 64 round days there, and So there's a lot of content that is in bouncing around my head, obviously. How much in here there's a paucity, there's a disconnect a little bit. So I feel a little unqualified, and I'm very grateful that there's so many people in the audience right now that, so I'll move on. So essential ingredients. The enthusiasm, determination, and patience. In Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami presents, in the third verse, 6 items that will greatly enhance one's bhakti. Utsahan nishchayat dhairyat tat karma pravartana sangatyagat sato vrate shadbir bhakti vinashna prasidhyate. I was just checking if you're awake. Prasiddhyati, that it really enhances one's bhakti. The last three are more external, a little more external. They have internal components, no doubt, but they're a little more external. Tat karma pravartanat, following the regular principles of devotional service. Sangatyagat, to give up association of worldly-minded people. And satovrati, to follow in the footsteps of saintly persons. They certainly have external components, but they certainly have some internal component, but they're primarily external. The first three, utsahan, nishchet, dhairyat. Utsahan means enthusiasm. It even sounds like that. Utsahan, enthusiasm. I wouldn't be surprised if you do a linguistic track to see where did the word enthusiasm come from. It probably came from utsahan. Nishchayat. Nishchayat has two flavors or two meanings to it. It means confidence and determination. Either one. And then the third one is dhairyat. Dhairyat means patience. These three qualities are largely internal. If you think of a tree has roots to it, and the roots cannot be seen. Yet is what the roots is what keeps the tree together. My wife likes to share this as part of the empathic communication training. She likes to share this example, which I really like, is the strongest and oldest living trees in the world are the trees that are in California someplace. They're really tall, really old, and they're all interconnected underneath. They all keep each other up. Our bhakti practice, I should say, our progression towards God has any chance we can do something with the ring back? Enthusiasm, patience, and determination are weaved together in our inner life. And people may not be able to see it externally, and we may have a glimpse into it through introspection. When we have enthusiasm, it feeds confidence. It feeds determination. When we have determination, it feeds the ability to be patient. When you have confidence, you're able to be more enthusiastic. So it's very interconnected. But what we will do is we'll take each one of these qualities and dive deeply into it a little bit. Okay? I didn't plan it. I didn't know today was going to be Bhaktivinoda Thakur's disappearance day. But much of my content is coming from Bhajan Rahasya, which was written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which is his commentary on the Shikshashtakam series. And what was the other one? Bhakti Aloka, thank you. Bhakti Aloka, which is the commentary of Nectar of Instruction, of these three qualities. So let's start with enthusiasm. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. I'm going to share a quote from Prabhupada. The ringback's really bad. Is it better if I put it here? Maybe? Let's see. So Prabhupada says, where is it? Yeah. One should accept this opportunity to return home back to Godhead very enthusiastically. A student, a businessman, artist, anyone who wants to be successful in this world must be enthusiastic. There's one devotee I know who's an excellent speaker. And I don't know what he speaks sometimes, but just because of his enthusiasm, you're totally drawn into his classes. Even speaking is so important to be enthusiastic. So I'm going to try, by the way. There's a very fascinating definition that Prabhupada gives in the Nectar of Instruction of what enthusiastic means. He says that endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is enthusiasm. You know that one, right? Very interesting, isn't it? Endeavor. Everyone takes up some kind of endeavor. But endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is enthusiasm. So, what does that endeavor look like? What does that intelligent look like? We'll start with endeavor. There's a book called Madhurya Kadambini by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that he describes the stages of bhakti and all of the details of the stages of bhakti. And there he says that in the very beginning stages of devotional life, one experiences what's known as utsaha mai. Utsaha is enthusiasm. Mai means you're filled with it. Okay? So you're filled with enthusiasm, or said another way, over enthusiasm. So I know a family member who began chanting Japa, and after about a month of chanting Japa, reported back to the spiritual teacher, I'm now totally detached. I've been chanting for 1 month. I feel very detached from everything, my work, my family. That's called Utsaha Mai. Maharaj gives another example of Utsaha Mai. During his time, when he was a brahmachari in a temple, there was one devotee who tried to fast along with everybody else during Ekadashi, and they would not eat any food, they would not drink any water. They found that person in the cooler in midnight, just like grabbing any kind of leftover he could. Utsahamai, to consider oneself in a higher position than they really are. It's called sometimes also known as PDS. You know what PDS is? Pure devotional syndrome. And it's very common. I mean, we went through it too. If you don't, can I share? Okay. So, pure devotional syndrome. My wife and I, we went to one devotee's house early in our Krishna consciousness, got inspired by their simplicity, came home, ripped apart all our curtains and threw them in the garbage. We had just got married. We had these Noritaki plates, if you remember. I can't even believe I remember the brand. So you have these Noritaki plates, really fancy china, that we threw all of it. We don't need any of this. It's called Utsaha Mai. So endeavor is important, but it has to be tempered with intelligence. And that intelligence, Jiva Goswami says, in Bhakti Sandarbha, he describes this, that you can do two things. You can simply say, I surrender to Krishna. That I'm yours, Krishna. That's one way to Sharanagati, to go on the path of surrender. He says the other way to surrender to Krishna is by one's intelligence. By one's intelligence, you very carefully recognize that there's no other shelter. There is factually no other shelter. And then he gives examples. He gives examples of Uddhava. Uddhava says, one of my very beautiful verses, Tapatrena bihitasya gore santapyamanasya bhavadvanisha Pashyami nanyat charanam tavangrim advandvaptapatra amritabhivarshan. So he says that tapatrena bhitasya gore. So we were in this little circle of, I was primarily with ladies, there were two men, that were discussing what is our sankalpa going into the 64 round day. One lady was sharing, I really want to meditate on how this place is a place of misery. And I don't recognize deeply how this place is a place of misery. And I'm complacent about it. But I want to like internalize that fully. Uddhava, he's with Krishna. He's at Krishna's feet. Imagine you're at Krishna's feet and he's saying, Tapatrena bhitasya gore. I am being, hitasya means to be beaten up. Abhihatasya means be like surrounded by being beaten up by the miseries of material existence. I'm being severely beaten up. And Uddhava says, Pashami Nanyat. Nanyat, this word Nanyat is what I want to focus on. I do not see any other recourse beside Sharanam Tavangrim, the shelter at your lotus feet. Uddhava says it, Nanyat. You'll see it in the Bhagavatam a lot. Prahlad Maharaj says it, Nanyat. Some of you may know this verse, very famous. Prayena deva munayo swimamukti kama. Very good. Maunam charanti vijanena parata nishta. Naitan vihaya kripanan vimumuksha eko. Nanyat tvadasya sharanam brahmato anupashye. He says, anupashye, I do not see. First he says, most people who are spiritualists, they like to hang out in the forests or the mountains and kind of take care of themselves. Maunam charanti, they just silently move around. Na parartha nishta, they're not focused on the artha, on the well-being of other people. Na parartha nishta, they're not fixed in serving the welfare of other people. As for me, naitan vihaya, I do not want to give such people up. Why? Because Nanyat Tvadasya, I do not see any other hope except your lotus feet. I mean, he's feeling that I do not see any other hope besides you. And many, many devotees use this word Nanyad. Anyad means other. Nanyad, there's no other. There's absolutely no hope. And some of us who've been practicing Krishna consciousness for some time, isn't it? We recognize Nanyat, there's no other shelter. It's not in front of our consciousness all the time, but we have some realization of it, that there's no other shelter. I can tell for myself, I lost my job and I thought I was really good, I lost my job and I was thinking, in 2 weeks I'm going to get one. I was lauded as one of the best employees in the company. Sure, who can, get another job, no problem. 6 months, dry. And then finally I went to the temple and I prayed to Krishna. As I was going into the temple, I said, I made a 1-hour journey to go to the temple to pray to Krishna. Look, my spiritual master has requested a service of me in this place. Please, if you so desire, please give me some opportunity to continue to serve here. I was driving into the temple and guess what? I get a call, you got a job. And I said, Nanyatodasya Sharanam. There's no other hope. We get driven out by communities. We identify ourselves with communities. We identify ourselves with family members. I remember in my mother's situation, my mother's family situation, they all were like really tight. They felt like our life is just to be with each other and to have affection for one another. Money came into the picture. All of that broke down. Persons who were living in high-rise buildings in Hong Kong were sitting in destitute apartments in Pune years later. Nanyat Tvadasya Sharanam Brahmatonu Pashya. My wife was sharing a story about her father, for those who were there. There's another family situation I'm remembering now. The person, had this opportunity of an awesome job moving from India to Singapore. So you can imagine, right? Awesome opportunity. They moved to Singapore. As soon as they moved to Singapore, cancer. Had to come back. That was it. So being aware of the fragility of life, being aware and keeping that in the front of our consciousness, anything that we enjoy, we have these secret enjoyments of material life. That those secret enjoyments can and will be destroyed in course of time. They will be. And to see that, to recognize that, to realize that, and keep that in front of our consciousness is what drives this enthusiasm to chant Hare Krishna. So when we're chanting Hare Krishna, look Krishna, right now a lot of people are giving me compliments for the pizza I made. I did get a lot. Or the pasta, or whatever. But, those are secret little enjoyments we might get. But my goodness, all of that falls away in time. It's gone. What's our real shelter? So, Jiva Goswami recommends endeavor with intelligence is enthusiasm. Another aspect, and this is because it's a contemplation for me, I want to share, it's really important for me. Intelligence, when we use our intelligence to consider reality, for example, who am I, like why am I here in the first place? That was my first question to my spiritual master. I asked this question to a Swami when I was 15 years old, why am I here? He didn't give me a response. He said, you're too young to understand. That was really disappointing. I went to my spiritual master. The first question I asked him is, why am I here? And he said, because, do you understand the word ontological? I said, yes. I had no idea what I was talking about. We have difficulty with being honest sometimes. So I said yes, and later I looked up the dictionary. But what happened is I said yes. He probably detected I was being a fool, and then he gave me a response and said, ontological means it's beyond space and time. I said, okay, thank you for that. And then he said, ontologically, we made a decision to leave Krishna. And we find ourselves in the material world. I can't contemplate, with my intelligence, I can't contemplate what's beyond space and time. But to some extent, it makes sense that I'm here. There's a disconnect in my relationship with God. I have this intrinsic feeling that I am connected to God. And that was what got me into Krishna consciousness in the first place. But when I contemplate, okay, what could be other reasons that I'm here? Materialists may say that, atheists, materialistic mindset, atheists will say that it happened because of chance. Just somehow or the other, Big Bang happened, a number of laws are in place, and here we find ourselves. Some molecules came together, and here I am, Yamuna Jivana. Okay, that's really interesting. Some people, there's an astrophysicist who discussed that if you have a pile of garbage and the wind blows or a tornado comes through the pile of garbage, the chances that you create a jet engine like a Boeing 747, an entire Boeing 747 is higher chances of doing that than to create a single cell organism. Do you catch that? The chances of a tornado passing through a pile of trash and creating a Boeing 747 is higher, not lower, higher than creating a single cell organism. Okay, so that doesn't make any sense. The fact that chance brought us here doesn't make any sense to me. And then when you contemplate, okay, that Krishna created this whole place, and you think about the world we live in and the solar system, and okay, why is the Earth planet kind of lonely in the solar system that's designed in this vast space of nothingness? Like, if I was Krishna, I probably wouldn't do it that way, right? I mean, if I want to create a place where people were suffering and living entities need to sort of learn to be correct, why would you create it the way it's created? So using our intelligence to figure out reality has its limitations. Therefore, in the second canto of the Bhagavatam, it discusses this, that we can use our intelligence to recognize our intelligence is very meager and cannot really expand itself to understand reality, so just surrender. Quid pro quo, as they say. Proven. Just surrender to Krishna. I went through chaplaincy training, as Mother Chintamani was expressing. We watched a video. Video was called God on Trial. Very edifying, very instructive. In that video, it discusses about these prisoners of war, or what do you call them, the Holocaust, people in concentration camp, Jewish people. And those Jewish people were having an argument. God was on trial. Is there God? Because He promised us the promised land. He promised us protection in the Old Testament. And the other group was saying, there is no God. Look where we are. We're in the concentration camp. We're suffering like anything. How could there be God? So they went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And some of them were telling their stories about how their families, their wife and their children were just mercilessly taken away by the Nazis and killed. In this God? And then, when the knock came on their door, where they were starting to be taken to the concentration camp, to the gas chambers, those guys, everyone started to pray to God. Everyone. Because when push comes to shove, when we're on that airplane and it really wobbles, it doesn't matter how much contemplation you have about reality and whether Krishna is real or not. Guess what we're going to be doing? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram. Right? How many of you have experienced that? Okay, I'm not the only one. When push comes to shove, we have no other shelter but God, but Krishna. In our chanting practice, we're being invited by Rupa Goswami with this phrase enthusiasm. Jiva Goswami was explaining this intelligence idea. What does intelligence mean? To take shelter of Krishna. Let that drive our chanting. So before chanting, it's common as devotees, we stick our hand in our bead bags and we just immediately, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, 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 Ram. And is there preparation? Have we thought about why we're sticking our hand in the bead bag? What's there? So it's a practice. It's a practice to contemplate why and to really surcharge the intelligence, consider various things, consider reality, the fragility of life, and then enthusiastically, I need this. And we're going to conclude with this. Enthusiasm, a very simple phrase of enthusiasm is, I need you, Krishna. With my intelligence, I recognize I need you. Okay. There's a lot on enthusiasm. I have more on it, but I'm going to watch time. Let's do a little discussion on enthusiasm. Why do we chant Krishna's names? What moves us to chant? Is it because it feels good? Because we promised we would? Because it is now a habit? Because I don't want to suffer? Because we fear the consequence of not doing so? Consider, do we have a public response to that question or do we have a private response to that question? And the private response reflects the level of our advancement. So I'm going to show a picture here of intense enthusiasm. Rohan was here, I don't know where he went. I'm sharing this with permission. Okay. I invite you to take Take a few minutes, talk to a person next to you, or two persons next to you, about this question. You don't have to give them the private response. You can give them the public response. Go ahead, you have a few minutes. Thirty more seconds. Okay, can I request come back to the room with me? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Mataji, you did that with my wife. I saw that. You're very good at that. But I'm sorry, I will not allow that this time. You're very enthusiastic. Yeah. You're welcome to throw tomatoes at me. I'm fine with that. But I do want to move on. I got to keep time, you know? You can certainly connect afterwards, if that's okay. Okay, let's move on to patience. And I'm going to move to patience only because I want to conclude with confidence and determination, because it's the life of the other two. Patience. When you look at your counter beads, how many of you can relate with this image? The time just ticking so slowly or very fast. I had another meme that I could have shown about that one, but move on. In 2009, in a Japa retreat in Gitanagari, 2009 was a very pivotal year for me, just for inner growth. Without all the details, one of the questions that I asked Maharaj with my heart, it was like very heartfelt, was I'm recognizing insecurities that I have. And can you give me some tips on dealing with on becoming more secure in my relationship with Guru and Krishna. And he gave a beautiful response. The first thing he said is, you're in the right place. Meaning, not necessarily Gita Nagari, but in a place where we're taking shelter of the holy name. And he concluded his response by saying, you put your effort in, and Krishna will respond in his own way, and Krishna will respond in his own time. So one thing I used to do, I don't do it anymore, I feel kind of sad about it, but one thing I used to do is capture audio clips of these question and answers that I would have with Maharaj, and use audio editing and have this whole compilation and put that in. Some of the younger people here may not know about iPods, and just repeatedly hear iPod. Whoa, okay. I guess if you study about dinosaurs, you'll know about iPods too, right? So repeatedly hear these question and answers. So I repeatedly hear this in Krishna's time and in Krishna's manner, Krishna's way. And it's true. So I wanted to share a quote that I written down. Yeah. So this is just my ramblings. One cannot snap one's fingers and summon Krishna to fix everything within me. Listen to this, please, very carefully, because I think it's important. Only because I've talked to a number of devotees and their struggles as well in Krishna consciousness. The ability to be patient is largely dependent on one's recognition and acceptance of brokenness, and even being able to admit it to others. It is okay that I'm not okay. There's a book like that, by the way, which I've read. It's okay that you're not okay. But yet, I care enough about myself and of Krishna that I wish to improve and be the best version of myself. Did you capture that? Should I say it again? Yeah. The ability to be patient is largely dependent on one's recognition and acceptance of brokenness, and even being able to admit it to others. It's okay that I'm not okay. But yet I care enough about myself and of Krishna that I wish to improve and be the best version of myself. If you look at the etymology of patience, it comes from this Latin word called pati, actually. I would say pati. Pati. Oh. And it means suffering. Now, I don't know. I just made the connection. I didn't realize that. Thank you for laughing, because so pati and suffering. Pati means husband, by the way. That's why the laughter. Sorry. I should catch you up with what's happening. So, the Latin word is pati, which means suffering. so patience means, it comes from enduring in suffering, being able to endure in suffering. That's what patience means. So it's very beautiful. And passion comes from the same root. When we talk about passion means that which gives you sustenance to go through tough times. That's what passion is. Nice to see the root of some of these words. Prabhupada, this is a quote from Prabhupada. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna conscious movement was started single-handedly And in the beginning, there was no response. But because we continued to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to come and understand the importance of this movement. And now they're eagerly participating. Okay, here's another quote that I'd written down. Let me reference Bhaktivinoda Thakur first. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the Sri Bhakti Loka, when he's discussing these three qualities, patience is the only one he starts like this. He says, patience is extremely necessary. He doesn't say that about the other qualities, although they are. But he starts like that. Patience is extremely necessary. And then he goes on to describe patience. But before that, let me share this quote. We can't hurry Krishna. We're dependent on mercy. The imagery of wingless baby birds awaiting the arrival of their parent bird from afar with food is particularly apt. Ajata paksha iva mataram kaga. This is a verse spoken by Vritrasura. He says, Ajata paksha. Ajata means immature. Paksha means birds. Ajata paksha iva mataram kaga. That these little birds who are not mature yet, they don't have wings yet, these wingless birds are, cooing for their mother, please give me food, I can't get food. Albatross, I saw this Netflix series on My Planet. It's called Our Planet, part 2. The first episode, this is the only episode I've ever watched on Netflix, by the way. I don't see it, watch it otherwise. So there's a story of the albatross in some kind of island, and it takes them a while, because they're heavy birds, it takes them a while to build up the wingspan and the strength to actually fly out to find food. And they desperately are waiting for their mother. And it's really interesting. Anyway, I won't get to it. But with the albatross, they're totally dependent. They go for months hungry. Rupa Goswami gives the example of a chakora bird. The chakora bird is just, beep, beep, please, give me. And then, the lightning hits. And we may face challenges like that in our life, but there's still chakora bird is eagerly looking for a drop of rain somehow. That kind of patience is being elicited by Rupa Goswami for us. So we need to be clear that things will take time in our Krishna consciousness. This kind of internal mood of reception goes against the grain of modern encouragement of you can do it, you can achieve, yeah. Right? I mean, that's modern life. You can do it. We can't do japa. It's a futile endeavor. Rather, we can receive Krishna's association. This shift is the cultivation of patience. We can't do japa like that. I got to do my japa, Prabhu. We can't do japa. We can receive Krishna's association. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes that this word patience in Sanskrit is dhairyat. Dhairyat comes from the Sanskrit word dhira. Dhira means being sober. Being sober means that one is not reactionary to external events or internal realizations. So we might get insights to ourselves, or somebody might give us insight into our own self. They give us feedback, right? One devotee, we were doing this japa exercise, Shradhika, you did it. So the devotee shared with me, is like, you're a little too fidgety. I was like, thank you, that's true. I know it for a fact. Ayurvedic doctor told me, you have two problems when she checked my pulse. One is distraction, and two is you have a problem with your gut. And she was like, spot on. So, we might get feedback like that. And And that and sobriety is to not react to it. Sobriety is to not react to external circumstances or internal revelations of who we are or what we are, or what kind of conditionings we might have. Arjuna, in the very beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada uses the word impatient twice in chapter 1. Arjuna was impatient, and therefore he wanted to get out of the battlefield. He was reacting to the discomfort of having to be in a weird family situation, which we never have. So he was in discomfort, and he wanted to have out. I want to get out of there. Impatience. Prabhupada labeled it as impatience. Right? Dhairyat. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Dhira, and we learn very beginning of the nectar of instruction, the feature of a dhira is one who doesn't respond to or doesn't react to urges of the tongue, belly, genitals, mind, anger, and speech. Very good. Urges of speech, mind, anger, tongue, belly, genitals. So these urges, and he says that, so when you are able to control these urges, you'll become more patient in your Krishna conscious practice. That's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's recommendation. I'm going to end the conversation about patience with this story, with this quote. This is another beautiful quote that has given me wisdom and strength and clarity through tough times. This is from Bhurijan Prabhu in Japa book. Listen. Many devotees struggle with chanting because before they can take shelter of Krishna's names, they have to travel through the desert of seeing the truth about themselves, that they have little sincerity and no taste, and that the mind is uncontrolled and filled with anarthas, and that they have no power to help themselves. This stage is necessary because it convinces us that we have nothing to depend on except Krishna's holy name. Only when we understand this fact can we chant with a full heart. So, my comments on this. We need repeated reminders of hope. Each one of us, we need hope. We need repeated reminders of hope while traversing this desert of tasteless, obligatory japa. We need to feel loved by Krishna during this poignant times. We need to feel loved. That's the key message. And some drop off. Some actually desist from continuing on the path. Many of us probably know people who have started chanting and then said, you know what, this is not for me. They dropped off this glorious path of patience. Hope and love are our friends, and this will lead to confidence. Okay, so now we're going to do a little discussion on patience. Number one, does Krishna take too long to respond to my prayers or to my practice? If I was told by Krishna, as he did to Narad Muni as a boy, some of you may know that story in the 6th chapter of the 1st canto, keep practicing, Narada, and you will not see me in this lifetime. How discouraged would we be? Are we ready to wait for reciprocation after several lives of solid, sincere endeavor? Here's another image of a person who's super patient. Have a discussion with people next to you for the next 3 minutes. 30 more seconds. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare. I'm sick, which means please come back to the room. You gotta do something about going back to it. I need to have patience, is what you're saying. Touche. Oh gosh. Too much fun. Okay. So, how many of you feel like it's been a 1 hour class so far? You feel like it's been long? Yeah. You have to be patient. You will have to. Okay. Confidence or determination? Nishchayad. Are you guys ready? So confidence has several aspects. How Bhaktivinoda Thakur addresses this in Nishchayad, how Bhaktivinoda Thakur addresses in Bhakti Loka, as he basically talks about the fact that if we're not thoroughly educated in the foundational principles of Krishna consciousness, by thorough education it means, like we talked about, one of the principles is the material world is not for us. It's not home. My goodness, it's not home. It feels like a bathroom. It's a bathroom. You do your business and you get out. That's Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says it. It's really not home. Anyway. So that's one of the principles that he explains. But there are 10 principles, the Dashamula Tattva that he talks about, that we have to be thoroughly educated in these. And if we don't get thoroughly educated, we will have doubts. And if we have harbored doubts, we will not be confident. If we will not be confident, where's the determination? If there isn't determination, where's the enthusiasm? How are you going to be patient? Bhakti life comes crashing down. Therefore, in the very beginning of Harinam Chintamani, there's about how to chant the holy name. The initial chapter is all about thorough education on the principles of who am I? Who is God? What is our relationship? It seems very simple to say these questions, but it has to become one with us. It has to be something that we truly imbibe and understand and live according to that. And that's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. So, the way he says it is this: doubting brings inauspiciousness, as noted in Bhagavad Gita 4:40. Vinashyati and na sukham. For a doubting soul, they become destroyed, and na sukham. They don't experience happiness. Real happiness, that is. Therefore, the Vedic statements ascertained by the previous Mahajans as relating to the qualifications for devotion are all called Amnaya. So he had a book called Amnaya Sutra. Amnaya is the Dashamula Tattva, basically. It's the teachings of the disciplic succession, the teachings of our acharyas that we have to become very conversant with. And it is necessary to learn them. It is impossible to enter into the inconceivable nature without receiving the full mercy of the spiritual master. So the inconceivable nature of God, of Krishna, of Radha Krishna, what to speak of Radha Krishna and Vrindavan and the esoteric pastimes with the gopis, and all of that is like, to know that we have to be thoroughly educated and receive the mercy of the spiritual master through the talks, right? Doubts in these truths disqualifies one from devotional service. Okay. So, confidence. What are we invited to have confidence in? Number one, Krishna loves me. Krishna has got my back. How many of us feel that way? When I asked Krishna, when I asked some devotee, say Krishna loves you, they're like, who said? Like, why? Me? Krishna's got our back. Krishna actually loves us. So, my Vamsha Jiva Loke, Krishna, he feels like these are my parts and parcels. Here's another one that we're invited to have confidence in, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur really focuses on. Krishna is his name. Krishna is present with us as we're chanting Japa. When I was listening to the other person and pretending to be Krishna, it was not fun. And I was listening to the other person, and it was really interesting to observe that I was struggling to be completely attentive to him. And I was thinking, oh my goodness. Me for one person is so difficult. Krishna is doing it for so many souls. And it's not like, and even when I'm half distracted, and then partly going back to trying to be attentive to chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, Krishna is there and being attentive. Even when I'm half attentive, he's fully attentive. How does this work? Like, how can you have such a person? But it's true. That's what the acharyas explain, and one can palpably feel that Krishna is attentive, even when we're not. So Krishna is his name and Krishna is present. This is what we're invited to have confidence in. And here's a big one. Think about this one. I am capable of fully restoring my broken relationship with Krishna. I'm asking you the question. I am capable of being a pure devotee. This is not pure devotee syndrome. This is saying that I'm capable of becoming or restoring, fully restoring my relationship with Krishna. I'm capable of becoming a pure devotee. How many of us will raise our hands immediately and say, yeah, sure thing, I can be. But that's what we're being invited to be confident about, that it is possible. In fact, it is wanted by Krishna, not just possible. The quality of determination, deeply internal, is if ignited by a personal spiritual purpose or vision, can move hearts. The quality of determination can move hearts. When we see another person determined, I know in my case, sometimes I cry. I'm so moved by another person's determination. Can you imagine how Krishna feels when he sees someone determined? And we have that opportunity tomorrow to consider chanting for 64 rounds that Krishna, how does he feel when he sees that determination? When we see, some of you may have seen this video of a father helping a person, athlete who, he was doing a 400 meter marathon or something like that, or maybe 800 meter track, and he got injured. And his father came down and he helped him finish the track, and everybody was just like, people were crying. Why? Because saw the determination of that person. Titanic. Again, for those who are younger, you may not know, there was a movie, The Titanic, that some of us grew up with. And how many of us watched The Titanic and were crying? Even the males, including myself, I cried. Because what do you see? The determination of Jack. Was that his name? Yeah. And I can tell you this experience when I was reading Bhagavatam, 8th chapter, first canto, Queen Kunti's prayers. When I got to Queen Kunti's prayers, and I was just trying to absorb myself in the verses, my goodness, I started weeping of how determined Kunti is saying, bring those difficulties again, because I want them, because I'm going to see you. Determination, which is a symptom of love, moves hearts. What to speak of Krishna's heart? So we're invited to be to touch Krishna's heart as he has touched ours, and then to consider what is our purpose to chant. What is our vision? Now, so we've done that already 2 times today. I won't go too much into it. Like George Harrison's song, My Sweet Lord. I really want to see you. I really want to be with you. I really want to know you. But it's so tough, my Lord. How he says it. But that's the vision that he has, and that's the sankalpa. That's what we're invited. One of those things that we can take for us. Okay. Our determination, and I'll end with this on determination. Just so much to talk about, but our determination is exhibited not when going is good. Our determination is exhibited through challenges. Apratihata is a Sanskrit phrase that even when material challenges come, we're able to stay on the course. When we face challenges, the question that Krishna is probably asking us, or is likely asking us, do you really want me? This past weekend, we were in Gita Nagari for a kids camp for the entire week. Beautiful experience. And one of the aspects that made it very beautiful is we had 6 Prabhupada disciples be part of that. One of those Prabhupada disciples, his name is His Grace Adarshi Prabhu. Some of you may not know him. How many of you know about Guru Maharaj's efforts with the Long Island case in New Jersey? Okay, so good number. So this devotee, I said, so we spent some time with him and his wife, and he said that, I asked him, so you and Maharaj work very closely together, I take it, because he started the Long Island Temple back in 1980. It was an instruction from Prabhupada. By the way, that Long Island Temple that they just won the case for, after 19 years of struggle, that Long Island Temple is the only temple in the United States or in the world that is still under the same incorporation that Srila Prabhupada started in 1966. Prabhupada started the International Society for Krishna Consciousness Incorporated. That incorporation, this temple is the only one under that incorporation still. I don't want to get into legal. You probably asked him, what are the other temples? But anyway, it's special. And I had such a moving experience being with him. Because he said, your Guru Maharaj is like a spear, and I'm like the tip of the spear, because I have a local presence in dealing with the situation. There was a lot of struggle. He shared with me the struggle. And he looked me in the eyes. He looked at both my wife and I in the eyes, and he said, I was not going to allow them to take my spiritual master's temple. I would not allow them. They would have to kill me over my dead body. That was a determination which I could feel like this, like vibrate from him, you know. It's like, okay, that's how we should chant Japa. With that level of, over my dead body, I was like, wow. And it takes that kind of determination to fight the battle they did. And they did it for Prabhupada. So much love for Prabhupada. So, let's move on. So, our confidence and determination. Am I important to Krishna? Does he love me? Do I see Krishna's hand in my various challenges and obstacles? Can I become a pure devotee? Do I have the potential to give my heart fully to Krishna without holding back at some point? 3 minutes. 3. You're welcome. Thirty seconds. Oh. Good students. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So usually when I plan for content in a class, I'm usually maybe on target or about 10 to 20% more. Today I'm about 150% more. In other words, I have so much content I planned for that I didn't cover. I'm going to end with this, and then we'll do some Q&A, because otherwise Amara Mataji will not be patient with me. This prayer is a prayer of a struggling sadhaka. And before you read it, it is from the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, 20th chapter, text 27, 28. These two set of verses are powerful for those of us who are struggling a little bit in material existence. Jata shraddha matkatasu, nirvinna sarva karmasu, and so forth. Beautiful set of verses. Highly recommend we can keep this as a guiding light in our life. Canto 11, chapter 20, text 27, 28. Your eyes said that you needed that verse again. And in the purport, there's a beautiful expression that I converted to a prayer that we can offer to Krishna. And it incorporates within it enthusiasm, patience, and determination. Okay. Would you be willing to read out the prayer for me? Slowly and heartfully? Yeah? Yeah. Do you have can you give a microphone? Or use mine? This is good.
Prayer of the Struggling Sadhaka. By my previous shameful life, my heart is polluted with many illusory attachments. Personally, I have no power to stop them. Only you, Harinam Prabhu, within my heart, can remove such inauspicious contamination. But whether you remove such attachments immediately or let me go on being afflicted by them, I will never give up my devotional service to you. Even if you place millions of obstacles in my path, and even if because of my offenses I go to hell, I will never for a moment stop serving you. I am not interested in mental speculation and fruitive activities. Even if Lord Brahma personally comes before me offering such engagements, I will not be even slightly interested. Although I am attached to material things, I can see very clearly that they lead to no good because they simply give me trouble and disturb my devotional service to you. Therefore, I sincerely repent my foolish attachments to so many material things, and I am patiently awaiting your mercy.
Enthusiasm, Krishna, I need you. Patience, however long, I'm not leaving this path. Confidence, Krishna, you care about me. The turtle. You remember the turtle? Here we are. Long road ahead. But we're in it together. There's a lot of other turtles around us. And we're all little turtles trying to go towards Krishna. We can hold the little turtle hands and go towards Krishna. Hare Krishna. I will end with that. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. We were going to do a kirtan with Paramrupa Prabhu helping me with a nice meditation on these three. But I also wanted to give some time for question and answer. So can I request that you attempt, if you want to, if you only desire, attempt to consider these three taglines. Krishna, I need you, I'm not leaving you, and you care about me. When we're doing kirtan, when we're chanting Japa tomorrow, whatever. We're doing kirtan now at 6 o'clock. But we can do a few question and answers now with those who want to ask. Amara, if you want to. Do it, Prabhu? Yeah. Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. It was really very well contemplated class, and this will definitely help tomorrow. So my question was, like when we do Japa, so in one sense we are trying to bring Krishna in the center, right? But the false ego is so strong that it becomes a battle between, Krishna and the false ego. It feels like that. And like I am like completely, totally out of that scene that, okay, they both are fighting. Okay. Because I start with determination, okay, I want to chant very good rounds today. And I know Paramrupa Prabhu also mentioned yesterday that be detached also. But then it is not satisfactory to the heart. When we come out of that room, it's like, it's just like usual. Where did the heart go? So, heart moves out of the scene. That feels like that because because the false ego is so strong that it is not letting Krishna come, So, would you like to say anything about that?
When we enter into a struggle space with our japa, one thing that we can do, and it's one of the symptoms of patience. When we're not so patient, we want to just get through our rounds. But when we can muster some degree of patience, and we're hitting a struggling path, as you're describing a flavor of struggling. Some of us may have some other flavors like apathy, I don't really care, or indifference, just totally checked out, or so many other things, right? when we're starting to enter into this tough zone where it's stormy and the tornado is coming through or whatever, instead of being pushed by trying to get done with our rounds, to stop chanting and pick up a devotional activity that particularly speaks to us. Something that works for me anyway is Bhagavatam, a verse, just reciting a verse, connecting with a person like Prahlad Maharaj and his verses. So what is it for you? Maybe so many different things that connect with you. Maybe it's seeing a picture, maybe it's
Right.
taking prasadam, whatever that really inspires you, right? To pause, connect with why you're doing this, and then resume japa. The result is we may take longer to chant, but hopefully we're doing it with better quality or with more feeling for Krishna.
Just a little follow-up, Prabhu. Like you said that these are different flavors. So just to clarify, I was talking about all these flavors. Are they not reflection of our false ego?
That?
These different flavors of inattentiveness,
Yeah.
are they not reflection of our false ego in general?
Yeah.
So
Most
that's what I was actually mentioning, that
Yeah.
false ego means like my mind is going or feeling apathy or different flavors, they are like
Yeah.
coming.
It's it's a sense of identity of being the body or some kind of upadhi related to
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
As opposed to, I'm lost. I'm in the material world, I'm lost, I'm without Krishna. I didn't get to this, but I want to talk about what are the things that check these three qualities. Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives an awesome anatomy of 4 different things that prevent that prevent us from being enthusiastic, determined, and patient. And one of those features is to not recognize that we're existentially lonely. Incurably and existentially lonely.
Not recognized.
We have this relationship with Krishna, and we're trying to find relationships in this material world, and it hasn't worked out. Even for our closest people, they don't really understand us deeply.
Yeah.
We need Krishna. So we lose sight of who we really are, and that's when we're struggling. So to step back, I am really lost, Krishna. Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patita mam vishame bhavam ado. Please, somehow let me be at the
Thank you, Prabhu. That will help, certainly. Thank you.
Manjari Mataji. This will be the last question. Huh? We only have 2 minutes.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare
So
Krishna.
your question has to be less than 2 minutes. That was my indication.
I have a longer question. I might have to reach out to you after. Okay, so I've noticed in my japa that when in the beginning,
I need to hear you.
because of like some distress or some, misery in the life, you have more surrender and strong japa to Krishna in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you learn this art of like, yes, Krishna is there. I know he is going to be there. And you understand that this world is full of misery and it is temporary. Everything is temporary. So when you have this understanding, or at least when I got this understanding, and I even though I'm convinced Krishna's there, somehow I become more complacent because I expect misery in the world because of this learning. And I expect that this is temporary. At the same time, I have the confidence Krishna is there and he's trying to teach me something. I have the patience because I know he'll take his time. But the enthusiasm is not there still, like how it would be when I was feeling those miseries. So is my question making sense? Like, well, I feel that other two, the patience and confidence can be there, but enthusiasm is what's lacking.
I'll share something with you here. There's a quote by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Bhakti Loka. He says, the word Shraddha is faith, certainly faith. But enthusiasm is a life of Shraddha, life of faith. Faith without enthusiasm, which is what you're discussing right now, is meaningless. Many people think they have faith in God, but because they have no enthusiasm, their faith has no meaning. The way I look at it is a difference between belief and faith. So we might have a belief that the material world is temporary and those things, but do we have the deep realization which will drive that enthusiasm?
I still feel when I somehow I feel to get my chanting better, I like those miseries. I'm scared of them. Don't
You're scared
get
of who?
miseries
Oh,
to
miseries,
come, right?
okay.
But at the same time, like it does give me that enthusiasm to surrender to Krishna more and chant sincerely. So I've had this ups and downs where I've felt that.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's faith.
Yeah. So
Lacking.
I think this might require a little more Socratic questioning, where we discuss it a little bit more, and we can churn it and get to the root of what might be going on. But one thing I think I'll just end with this is that what helps to get us enthusiastic is primarily sadhu sangha, and you will notice it tomorrow. I will notice it tomorrow, being around people who are okay. Yeah, maybe I should do it too. You know. Get enthusiastic. So, but we'll talk more. Is that okay? Because you already
Yes,
blew the conch.
totally understand. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhaktavind ki jai.
Praise Yamuna Jivana Prabhuji ki jai.